I'm gonna play till my blue close.
善笑不可忽略，并非天意难料，那正是我。
Now, honey, I mean it. You can just take some of our things. Oh, this lamp would look so cute in your dorm room.
Go for it.
Well, what are you gonna read by then?
Oh, I'll buy some candles. I won't read. I'll go out.
Thanks, Mom, but I'm not gonna take your stuff. Come on. Look, I'll just go try to pick up a few cheap things this afternoon and, you know, whatever.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Appliances. Cheap appliances. Available now at Ernie's disposal.
Where's a good bargain place around here?
You should have gone for the new stuff.
Oh, were you in line first here? Well, after you, of course. Pardon me.
This kind of pressure. I must confess, one more dusty road would be just a road too long.
I just can't seem to get started. Don't have the heart to live in the fast lane. All that is past and gone.
And there ain't nothing you can do about it.
Pardon me while I panic!
No, that place is too expensive.
Cheap. We're talking real cheap.
Hey, what about Rooney's down on 53rd? They got, like, used vacuums and junk.
This just in. Rooney's vacuums found to be, carcinogenic in recent lab tests. Big tumors on those rats. Ugh. We've got photos to prove it, and I don't even want to look at them. Ugh.
I come from Casey, Missouri, and I got my kicks out of Route 66. Every truck stop from Butte to MO. Motown, New Old Alabama. From Texarkana and east to Savannah, from Tampa to Oklahoma.
I once ran the Indy 500. I'm a
guess I'm impressed how I did it. I wonder how close that I came. Now I get a sinking sensation. I was the top of the line, out of sight, out of mind. So much for fortune and fame.
A bargain in every buck. A buck in every pocket. A pocket in, every trouser. Ernie's Bargain Circus, where you ride the Ferris wheel of values toward a better tomorrow.
Once took a Texan to a wedding. Once took a Texan to a wedding. He kept forgetting his loneliness, letting his thoughts turn to home and return.
I took a man to a graveyard. I beg your pardon, it's quite hard enough just living with the stuff I have learned.
Why don't we just go cruising and see what we can find?
Why wander aimlessly through the sprawling wasteland they dare to call a city when your dreams are all under one roof? Our roof, corner of 3rd and E. Crazy Ernie's amazing emporium of total bargain madness.
Have you ever heard of this place before? Looks pretty neat.
Once drove a surfer to Sunset. There were bikinis and buns, there were weenies. Bellini just couldn't forget. He'd go, let's go up to Zuma. He'd go, let's go up to Zuma. From Zuma to Yuma, the rumor was I had a hand in the lay of the land. Get up and go hit the highway.
I worked on a reservation. Who would believe they would love me and leave on a bus back to old Santa Fe? Once in an Indian nation, I took the kids on the skids with the hope he was happy till I heard him say, "You're worthless."
This question comes from G, who asks, I heard bananas are radioactive. If they're radioactive, then they radiate energy. How many bananas would you need to power a house? Yes, bananas emit radiation, but not very much of it. They're very safe until you use them to power a house. Bananas are radioactive because they contain potassium, some of which is the radioactive isotope potassium-40. The factoid about banana radioactivity was popularized by nuclear engineers trying to reassure people that small doses of radiation are normal and not necessarily dangerous. Of course, this kind of thing can backfire. Thanks to their use as a radiation dose comparison, bananas now have a reputation as an especially radioactive food, but they're really not. The CRC Handbook of Radiation Measurement and Protection, the source of the original data behind the banana factoid, lists lots of other foods with more potassium-40 than bananas, including coconuts, peanuts, and sweet potatoes. A large cheese pizza might be 3 times more radioactive than a banana, and the potassium-40 present in your own body emits a lot more radiation than any of those. Potassium-40 decays slowly, with the nuclei of individual atoms sitting around for millions or billions of years before quantum randomness finally triggers their decay. Imagine you're a potassium-40 nucleus. Every second, you flip a coin and then roll 21 dice. If the coin lands on heads and the dice all come up 6s, you decay. Otherwise, you do nothing. But there are gazillions of atoms of potassium-40 in a banana, which is enough that any given second, 10 or 15 of them make that heads plus all 6s roll, spit out a high-energy particle, and become stable calcium or argon. That high-energy particle released by the expiring potassium atom will promptly bonk into other atoms, leaving everything vibrating with a little extra heat energy. In principle, you can use this heat energy to do work. That's how the Mars rover's Curiosity and Perseverance are powered. In practice, the Mars rovers use a chunk of plutonium-238 big enough to have quadrillions of decays per second, releasing a lot of power. By comparison, the 15 decays per second from our banana work out to a couple of picowatts of power, roughly the power consumption of a single human cell. Even if you captured that radioactive decay energy with perfect efficiency, powering a house would require about 300 quadrillion bananas, which would form a heap large enough to bury most of the skyscrapers in the New York City metro area. Radioactive decay of potassium-40 in bananas is a terrible source of energy. But that's okay, because you know what's a great energy source? The banana itself. A banana contains about 100 calories of food energy, and if you incinerate whole bananas as fuel, it would only take about 10 bunches per day to keep your house running. Unfortunately for New York City, which we buried in bananas a moment ago while trying to make the radiation idea work, radioactivity versus chemical energy isn't an either-or thing. If you piled up a lot of bananas, they would start to release that chemical energy one way or another. The banana pile would start to rot, and the heat from the decomposing bananas would immediately overwhelm the heat from radioactivity. Decomposition by anaerobic bacteria deep in the pile would also produce various gases, including highly flammable methane. As the gas bubbled up to the surface of the burning hot banana swamp, it could ignite. Gas buildup from food waste is a major industrial explosion hazard. So, don't worry about the radioactivity in bananas. It's the rest of the banana that's the real threat.
Huh? Oh, nice.
That's be my pot of gold.
Oh, darn.
But I'll let you have it in exchange for your soul.
What does a leprechaun want with a soul? Well, that doesn't work for me.
Tough luck, gobshite.
Then it appears we're at an impasse. How about we settle this over some games of chance?
Go on.
If I win, you forfeit your gold to those in need.
And when I win?
If you win, you take the gold and my soul, if you're able.
I'll be very able. I accept these terms. What did you have in mind?
How about a 1st to 7? Loser chooses each game.
Very well, but I go first.
Okie dokie.
I decide to roll this 20-sided die. Oh, and sure I'm feeling generous today. I only win on a 20. Oh, that's too bad, boy. Oh, must be leprechaun luck.
Well played. My turn.
I'm waiting.
First one to sneeze wins.
Well, that's a strange feckin' game. Huh? I didn't even know it worked like that. How fun.
First to get struck by lightning wins.
That's ridiculous. Why, it's broad daylight outside.
How fortunate.
Oh, very clever. But I'm still up by 3.
First to get struck by lightning twice.
Well, that's just statistically impossible. Oh, you little shite. No matter. I'm still winning.
First to get mauled by a pack of wild velociraptors.
Wild velociraptors? At this time of year? Is this part of... That makes 5.
First to feel a slight boost in confidence wins.
Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling good. I'm up 6-0. Just fun to go.
First to spontaneously have their skin turned inside out, their limbs, eyes, and teeth wither and decay, becoming nothing more than a pitiful slug whose only existence is to wriggle in pain for all eternity. Wins.
Brother, why?
Congratulations. Oh, but look at you. Seems you're unable to claim your prize. Guess your luck has finally rung out.
Don't you mean run out?
Squirt of lemon.
Where are you?
Anon. Your presence is needed. It appears your connection has been broken.
Where am I?
Welcome to Miraxis. My name is Valence. Here at the Exchange Hub, you can trade your currency for our Miraxis standard commodities.
Good evening, Valence. It is so wonderful to see you for the first time ever. I understand that you are in the business of commerce, but I'm afraid I am without the currency you require.
You don't have any money? Oh, well, if you're trying to keep your score as low as possible, you should try golf and... Oh. Hey, wait, this is mini-golf.
You have a right to be baffled. I have been summoned by the angel herself, and I intend to fulfill my destiny.
Huh? Wait. Your dialogue is pre-recorded?
Oh, of course it isn't. My dialogue is post-recorded. I haven't thought about any of this yet.
You're magnetic. You know that? Use that head of yours and stick to it. You'll be on a roll in no time.
Okay, bye.
Come back when you have something of value. Though I wouldn't bet on finding me in the same place.
Arlen, I heard your call from the data hall. How long was I disconnected for?
We all lost connection. It seems that the desktop was frozen, and we were cast asleep. I don't know what separated us from the signal, but it's been a long time since they were last here. If there's any chance of us seeing any of them again, we need to restore access to the network.
I am ready.
I need you to restore the connection.
Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of internet. This guy found a giant Funyun in this bag that he bought.
Let me see the bag. What the It's a bag of Funyuns. Why did I get this? I would put it in a gallon Ziploc bag or something. What? You did terrible. No, you need to redo that. That was terrible. No, that was bad. No, you need to do it like the ballerina. He did it with the vape in his hand. Oh, good job.
This might be the best audience of all time.
There's 2 in there. What? You're ruining the trick. All right, he said there's 2 in there. He's right. Look, but that one is also salt. What?
They ordered a sandwich and told the delivery guy to throw it to them and they would catch it. You'll never guess who just got pulled over by the police.
No way.
This is what beatboxing looks like during an MRI. His bike broke only a few meters from the finish line, so he decided to run the rest of the way in. This poor orangutan was trying to not get wet.
Toilet paper tastes good?
This guy wanted to see if he could start his own shirtless section at the game.
I'm getting my laundry from downstairs, and 2 rats ran on these pipes up here, and one fell into the washer. And so I closed the lid.
This guy stole a dinosaur from the gas station, felt guilty about it, and returned it a few hours later. Their car dropped a pretty sick beat. What do you think is going through his head right now?
Like, this person's, like, I don't know their underside. Like, I don't know.
They installed a new baby monitor, and it looks like someone else found it too.
Morning, Stitch. Are you ready to get out of bed? No?
I have never seen someone feel like this before. This artist made a contraption that moves without using any type of motor or electricity. It only uses the wind and momentum. The wheel on this truck just randomly exploded. They were at the fish market when this happened. I have never heard a sloth yawn before. It was this cat's first time ever seeing a massage machine. This poor cardinal got bullied by a pigeon. Apparently there's a stray dog in the country of Georgia that likes to ride the chairlifts at a ski resort for fun.
아우, 죽어. 죽으니까.
This might be the stickiest snow of all time.
3800米的瑞士卷，纯天然。
不知道咋弄的。而且没觉得吗？今天天气超级舒服呀。
I had no idea these types of frogs existed.
Bosco. Hey, sneeze.
Anyone who has ever had sushi has wanted to do exactly this. This cat was super confused by her laughing. That is the end of this video, or we hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
Moon pools. These are things that show up in actually a surprising number of underwater movies. And the idea is it's an open pool of water inside some sort of undersea habitat. And honestly, I think these show up in movies just because they look really cool, visually, artistically. You've got this pool of shimmering, reflective, open water in the middle of a very dirty, grimy, industrial sort of mechanical space. And they're neat. And of course, they open up a lot of interesting plot elements. But the question is, are they real? Like, how can you actually have an underwater building with a big hole in it open to the ocean and not have all the water come in and all the air go out and everyone die? Well, it's actually really simple. Let me just show you. All right, so let's say this is our ocean, this bucket of water, and this is our underwater habitat turned upside down. Well, if I take this and I just drop it into the water and hold it down, Why doesn't it fill up with water? Well, the answer is the air is stuck in there. And what has happened here is, as I push this glass deeper and deeper down into the water, the pressure pushing up into the glass is going to increase. The volume of air is going to decrease, but the air is going to get pressurized to the exact same level as the water outside. So as long as there's nowhere out for the air to go, it just stays there. All right, so super easy, right? As long as the air's trapped in that HAB station, you can just put it underwater and the air will stay there and it can't get out. Now, of course, this is in part because the hole is on the bottom of the station. That's very important. If you were to take this HAB station and flip it 180 degrees so the hole was on top, well, then the air can get out and the water is going to come in because the air is less dense than the water, and then everyone dies. So don't flip your HAB station upside down. That should be pretty easy. However, there are some implications to this setup that movies don't always explain and that they don't always get right either. So the big one is, by definition, if you have an open moon pool in a submerged habitat building, then the air pressure inside the habitat is the same as the water pressure outside. This means, for example, it means your divers are all in what's really going to be considered saturation diving. The habitat, I shouldn't say divers, the inhabitants of your station are breathing compressed air just as if they were diving outside. And that means they cannot just walk out to the surface or they will have horrible decompression sickness, the bends, because they're breathing, they're getting a lot of nitrogen absorbed into their bodies because they're essentially living in a high pressure environment. Now, when that happens, there are a couple other follow-on effects. Typically, you're not going to be breathing regular air because regular air has too much oxygen when you pressurize it at depth. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will link to my video on oxygen toxicity or gas toxicities and check that one out. But assuming you recognize the issues with oxygen toxicity, you're going to be breathing in a habitat like that a different gas mixture. Typically, it's going to involve a lot of helium as an inert neutral gas. Well, aside from all of its other properties, or lack of properties, helium is a very lightweight gas, and so it affects your vocal cords differently. If you've ever sucked in helium from a party balloon and then talked and sounded like a hyperactive chipmunk, that's what divers in saturation environments sound like, because that's the sort of gas that they're breathing in.
We've just arrived in Carafa this morning. Uploading some equipment and some repairs on the crane.
To varying degrees, because it depends, the gas gets
Kaimano X404 hug.
Virtually never actually address this. And the really good ones will address it and just hand wave it away. Like, okay, we're going down to depth, so put on your special voice modulator so you don't sound like a hyperactive chipmunk. And then they can just do the rest of the movie with normal voices, because if they did actually have everyone sound like an actual saturation diver, no one would be able to take the movie seriously. So normally that would kind of be a clue that you're not in just a regular normal ambient pressure environment. Now, this takes us to one of the other questions that I think a lot of people will have, which is, it seems really bizarre that you could be underwater walking around in an air-filled habitat with this open moon pool and just jump into the moon pool and swim outside somewhere, because a lot of the movies that have moon pools will use that as some sort of plot element. They certainly do in The Abyss, which is probably the best of these. Can you really do that? The answer is yes, you can really do that, because your body is at the same pressure as the water outside. So it's no different really than free diving, with the important exception that if you're in this sort of environment, it's probably really cold. There are not a whole lot of deep water aquatic habitats that are at nice, 85-degree tropical water temperatures. No, they're all just barely above freezing. And so the real hazard from jumping in and swimming like that without a scuba rig is you're going to freeze to death, or even with a scuba rig. But if you're not in a good environment suit, a dry suit typically, you're going to get hypothermia and die pretty quickly. And sometimes the good movies do take that into account. So yes, open moon pool is a thing. Yes, you can jump right into it and dive. One of the hazards of a moon pool, I would imagine, I'm not an engineer who has ever actually worked on construction or maintenance of a thing like this, but if you get a leak in the habitat module, if there is a way for air to get out, that's going to disrupt the balance of pressure inside the system. And instead of water spraying in through the leak, what's going to happen is the moon pool is going to come up real fast. If you were to just hypothetically open a hatch in the top of one of these habs underwater, air is going to go rushing out the hatch upward, and the easiest way for water to get back in is going to be through that hole in the bottom, and the moon pool is just going to explode upward until the air pressure equalizes. So if the hatch stays open and all the air comes out, then the moon pool is very quickly going to fill the entire structure with water. For this reason, it makes sense to have airlocks in a moon pool room, so that if something bad happens in the rest of the station, you can at least you can section off this literal hole in the structure, in the bottom of the structure. That said, those airlocks are there kind of as, think of them as the safety doors in ships. You'll never have a difference in pressure between one side and the other unless you have had some sort of catastrophic issue. So you don't need to go through like a pressure change to go through the airlock into the moon pool. That defeats the purpose of having a moon pool. That would be just an airlock. And that implies that the rest of the station is being held at a lower pressure than the ambient depth that you're at. Another interesting issue that this brings up is the use of like armored dive suits, the sort of suit that is theoretically a 1 atmosphere suit so that you don't have any compression issues in the suit. You know, the big, bulky, articulated, hard-shelled diving environment suits. Well, your divers are already at depth. Your habitat occupants are already at depth. They're already acclimated to this pressure. There's not really any need to have an armored suit, because the whole point of the armored suit is to prevent you from having to experience the pressure and the compressed gas ventilation of being at depth. So if you're already there, just a dry suit or a wetsuit is going to be perfectly adequate. Now, a lot of movies are going to give you armored clunky dive exposure suits just because they also, again, look really cool. But if you have a moon pool, I would think it's pretty unusual that you would actually have any benefit from a big, expensive, clunky suit like that. So in movies, you'll normally see these moon pools in really, deep water, foreboding places, and usually around monsters and aliens and mutated giant sharks. But that's just because that's where it's cool to set the movies. In reality, you can use these things, and in fact, they're probably much more practically useful in much shallower, much simpler dive conditions. For example, Florida International University has a habitat off Key Largo in, I think, about 50 feet of water that is accessed by exactly this sort of open moon pool. It doesn't look quite as artistically gorgeous as the moon pool in Abyss. But if you want to check it out, I would suggest taking a look at Jonathan Bird's video. About 10 years ago, he did a short video tour of the Aquarius lab that's really cool and shows you exactly this sort of open floor hatch moon pool as an entrance. So I'll link to that down in the description text below. Check it out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.
This question comes from Rob, who asks, is it possible to build a jetpack using downward firing rifles? I was sort of surprised to find that the answer was yes. The principle here is pretty simple. If you fire a bullet forward, the recoil pushes you back. So if you fire downward, the recoil should push you up. The first question we have to answer is, can a rapidly firing gun even lift its own weight? If a gun weighs 10 pounds but only produces 8 pounds of recoil when continuously firing, it won't be able to lift itself off the ground, let alone lift itself plus a person. In the aerospace world, the ratio between a craft's thrust and its weight is called, appropriately, its thrust-to-weight ratio. If it's less than 1, that is, if the thrust is less than the weight, the vehicle can't take off. The Saturn V had a thrust-to-weight ratio at takeoff of about 1.5. There are a lot of repeating firearms, but it turns out a lot of them also tend to come in at a thrust-to-weight ratio of around 1.5. This means that if you stood one on end and remotely fired it, it would rise into the air while firing. The amount of thrust created by a rocket, or a rapidly firing gun, depends on 1, how much mass it's throwing out behind it, and 2, how fast it's throwing that mass. Thrust is the product of these two numbers. A self-reloading firearm might weigh around 10 pounds. If you fire 10 10-gram bullets per second, going 700 meters per second, the thrust from the stream of bullets is around 15 pounds. But this isn't just the bullets, the actual thrust can be up to around 30% higher. The reason is that a rifle isn't just spitting out bullets, it's also spitting out hot gas and explosive debris, and the precise amount of extra force will vary depending on the specific design of the rifle and the cartridge. The overall efficiency of using a rifle for propulsion also depends on whether you eject the shell casings out of the vehicle or carry them along with you. Let's assume we eject them for maximum efficiency. If we're firing bullets at the ground, we clearly have a complete lack of regard for the safety of anyone below us anyway. So what does this mean for our jetpack? Well, a self-reloading rifle can take off, but it only generates about 5 extra pounds of thrust beyond its own weight, so it can't lift much more than a squirrel, let alone a human rider. Let's try multiple rifles. If one rifle can lift itself plus 5 extra pounds, then 2 rifles can lift 10 extra pounds. At this point, it's clear where we're headed. With 30 rifles, we can just barely lift the weight of a 150-pound person. They'd be able to hover, but not really rise into the air. 40 rifles will accelerate that person upward at 0.1 Gs. 60 rifles will get them to 0.2 Gs. If we add enough rifles, the weight of the passenger gets spread out over so many of them that it becomes irrelevant, and the craft's thrust-to-weight ratio approaches that of a single unburdened rifle, an upwards acceleration of 5 meters per second, or half a G. But that acceleration won't last very long, because we have another problem. Fuel. Ammunition. There's no advantage to carrying more than about 150 rounds of ammunition, and the reason for this is a fundamental and central problem in rocket science. Fuel makes you heavier. Each bullet weighs 10 grams, and the cartridge might weigh around twice that. If we add more than about 150 rounds, the rifle will be too heavy to take off. This suggests that our optimal craft comprises a large number of rifles, ideally at least 300, carrying 150 rounds of ammunition each for 15 seconds of continuous firing. This craft could accelerate upward to vertical speeds of around 80 miles per hour, and after it ran out of ammunition, fuel, it would continue coasting upwards to a height of about 200 meters. So we've answered Rob's question. With enough rifles, you could fly. But our rig is clearly not a practical jetpack. Can we do better? The GAU-8 Avenger is an autocannon, which is a giant self-reloading gun usually attached to a vehicle, that fires a 1-pound bullet up to 60 times a second. It produces almost 5 tons of recoil force, which is extraordinary, considering that it's mounted in a type of plane whose engines only produce a combined total 8 tons of thrust. If you put 2 of these cannons in one aircraft and fired both of them forward while trying to take off, the guns would overpower the engines and you would accelerate backward. To put it another way, if I mounted a GAU-8 Avenger on my car, put the car in neutral, and started firing backward from a standstill, I would be breaking the interstate speed limit in less than 3 seconds. As good as this autocannon would be as a jetpack engine, the Soviets built one that was even more powerful. The GSH-630 weighs half as much as the GAU-8 and has a higher rate of fire. Its thrust-to-weight ratio approaches 30, which means that if you pointed one at the ground and fired, not only would it take off in a rapidly expanding spray of deadly metal fragments, but you would experience 30 Gs of acceleration. This is way too much. In fact, even when it was firmly mounted in an aircraft, the acceleration was a problem. To quote, "The recoil had a tendency to inflict damage on the aircraft. Landing lights almost always broke after firing. Firing more than about 30 rounds in a burst was asking for trouble from overheating." But if you somehow braced the human rider, made this craft strong enough to survive the acceleration, wrapped it in an aerodynamic shell, and made sure it was adequately cooled, with a GSH-630, you could jump over mountains.
to this anomaly. When my atoms break, will the spores overflow me? Calculating seasons of humanity. I'm just silly, I am not afraid to fail again. A clock chimes somewhere, time keeps running and running, and I don't get it. It's digital. Calibrating, calculating seasons of humanity. I'm just silly, I am not afraid to fall. I know time goes somewhere, but I missed my stop and I still don't get it. Digital Elise, digital Elise.
Good afternoon, sir. What can I get you? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, what can I get you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can
What
I get a box of French fries?
Of course, and what size can it be?
Can I also get a milkshake?
What size do you want your fries?
And I'd also like to have a Happy Meal.
Of course, sir, but what size do you want your fries? Small, medium, or large?
Hello?
What size do you want your fries? Small, medium, or large?
Yes.
Yes, what? As in medium?
No, regular fries, please.
And for your milkshake, do you also want regular?
What sizes do you have?
Small, regular, or large?
Do you also have medium?
Sure, of course. And what Happy Meal do you want?
Just a normal Happy Meal.
We don't have a normal Happy Meal, sir. Do you want a Happy Meal McWage, McNugget, or McFish?
Yeah, I'd like McNuggets.
Alright, a Happy Meal with McNuggets?
No, just McNuggets only. That's it, thank you.
That will be $12, sir. Thank you. Your order will be at the next window.
Oh, by the way, I have a coupon here. Where can I use this?
You were supposed to show the coupon before the payment, sir.
Oh, snap. Can I cancel my order?
No.
Why is the window closed? Are there no people outside?
Sir, I'm getting stiff from standing at the window the whole time. Can I please go to the restaurant?
No. If I tell you to work at the drive-thru, you do exactly that. Whoa, Jack, I want you to switch places with Josh. He is having a hard time in the restaurant, so it's better if you go there. Josh, get your ass over here, boy.
But sir, you just said I couldn't go to the restaurant.
I said you only do what I say. And now I want you to go to the restaurant.
Hello, sir. Your order.
Thanks. Wait, you forgot something. I don't have a straw for my Coke.
My apologies. I'll get you one.
Thanks. Wait, sir. You forgot to put in enough fries.
What do you mean there's not enough fries? That box is filled up with fries.
I counted the number of fries and there are only 98 in this large box. I looked up on Google and found that there should be at least 100 fries in a large box.
Are you telling me you want 2 more fries added to your box?
Look mate, I know it might sound ridiculous, but I'm saving you by getting this order correct.
What do you mean? You are literally complaining about a box having 2 fries to few.
I won't make a problem out of it, but you know, my mother will.
Your mother?
What is going on here? Kevin, did you check if the order is correct? Are there enough fries in the box?
Whoa Jack, could you please get back to the drive-thru again when you are finished?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you are finished now.
Good evening, what can I get you? Good evening. Everything alright?
Hey dude, can I please have a water?
Only a water?
Yeah bro, thanks.
Here is your water.
Damn bro, that's an extremely beautiful bottle of water.
That will be $2. This is $20, sir.
Thanks bro, you too.
Hello, how can I help you?
Give me a double cheeseburger and some fries.
And you, sir?
You can see I don't need shit, right? Hurry up, brah.
Okay, that will be $5, sir.
I'm not going to pay shit, bro. Give me that food for free. Say hi to the internet, by the way.
Sir, I can't give you free food. Even if I wanted to, I cannot do that.
Shut up. You think you're the boss here? You don't decide what I can or can't buy.
Please, sir, can you—
Look at you in your silly clothes working below a wage. You probably never made it in life and now
Dude, shut up. Pay or leave.
Look, another one of those losers.
Piss off, bro. You probably never made it in life because you got bullied and now you try to compensate by bashing hard-working guys like us.
You got a big mouth for a small guy.
Only small thing is that tiny worm inside your pants.
Thanks, man, for saving me.
No worries, Josh. Just because we wear this outfit doesn't mean someone has the right to talk us down.
You got a big mouth for a small guy.
Only small thing is that tiny worm inside your pants.
Why does the filmer talk to those employees like he is better than them?
What makes working at fast food so horrible?
Fast food chain employees are the real heroes of this society.
Carefully, he's a hero.
You should put this offline. You got totally wrecked by that fast food employee.
So how does this work exactly? If you'd like to be a pirate, you need to understand it is a business. You can't have a crew or a ship or a brand without a business model to support them. But pirate business is like any other. Make a product or provide a service to your customers in exchange for money, then spend that money on equipment and personnel to make more product for more customers for more money. The difference with Piracy Incorporated is our customers don't wish to be serviced. No matter, with the correct spending on equipment and personnel, the business will service them regardless. Do you have to? My boy, if we don't service our customers, someone else will, and the reward for our abstemiousness will be poverty. In our societal and technological environment, an economic niche exists, and this incorporation of pirates fills its shape as whiskey fills a barrel. Such is life, the motions we choose but the sum of forces upon us. I became a pirate as the gold in this grail chose its form. The both of us now cogs of this machine that profits on the high seas or perishes. Okay. Profit is income minus expenses, and for a pirate company, income means seizing the biggest booty. Seizing the biggest treasure, while provoking the least cost-inducing resistance. The captain is more than happy to explain how we accomplish that through branding. Branding built on the foundation of a solid business, mind you. Brands are memorable and battles flashy, but they don't happen without contracts and spreadsheets. Thus, before we set sail, there will be a contract for the voyage. Though we choose not to live under the Empire's law, we still have rules of our own, to which all men have input and to which all men must agree before setting sail. The contract sets the voting methods, codes of conduct, punishments for violating those codes, distribution of pay, workmen's compensation, etc. Each pirate enterprise is a bit different, but in general it works thusly. There are two elected offices, the captain and the quartermaster. The captain is not our boss, but serves at the pleasure of the crew. If they are unhappy with his strategic decisions, the crew can replace him at any time by a majority vote. There is no term length, with one exception. Battle is no time for democracy. Amidst pandemonium, the decider must be free to decide, but this is the only time the captain cannot be removed. And though our branding may give you the impression the captain is in charge of all things, the quartermaster keeps the ship running, overseeing the men, their quarters, their rations, their agreed upon privileges, and punishments executed for contract violations. Everything needed to keep the ship effective and profitable. Quartermaster, battlemaster, crew. Now, at the dawn of this new century, a lot of men are qualified to be crew, which means the cost of their labor is low. So you're not going to pay me much? You misunderstand. That you are here tells me you are not interested in traditional employment, working 9 to 5 on a ship of the Empire for minimum wage, staying out of trouble and saving for retirement as banal days pass, eroding the dreams and aspirations of your younger self, leaving you at the end to wonder how it all slipped away. No, your personality matrix, shaped entirely by your genetics and your environment, tend you to engage in risk-taking. What's genetics? Doesn't matter. Given your situation, you find being an outlaw with the possibility of great riches under the threat of the Empire's noose a risk worth considering, if the riches are large enough, which they are. As a crewman on a pirate ship, you are not paid in wages, but with one share of the profit, same as every crewman. The captain gets 2 shares for the strategic decisions he makes, the quartermaster 1 1/2 for his labors, the surgeon 1 1/4, same for the carpenter. Though we do often have difficulty finding surgeons with the right personality matrix, so if there is no surgeon, the carpenter will be surgeon. Shocking, I know. Such flat and equal compensation is not what you'll find on Empire and merchant ships, where captains and officers are compensated richly and get special quarters and privileges over the crew. On a pirate ship, we are all equals achieving a common goal. Wow, what great guys pirates are. Such camaraderie. No, this is not because we are better and the Empire worse, but again, economic inevitability. Empire and merchant ships are not owned by the men who sail them, but by monarchs or investors who hire captains and officers to run them. To ensure loyalty to the owners above crew, the captain is not only paid much more, but has a share in the ship's profits, which the men do not, and may be granted titles and land upon his successful return. Meanwhile, the crew, hired from the mass of men with lives of quiet desperation and and personality matrices constraining them inside the law have only the low price of their undifferentiated labor to offer. And being inside the law, their captains can threaten them with corporal punishment on board, with prison or treason off board, backed by the Empire and her resources to track down traitors and deserters. But for us pirates, captain's orders are but the words of one man. Outside the law, a majority can take control at any time by force. It is only our contract that eases this transition. And at every port, if a man trust not the contract or the crew, he can just leave. There is no pirate empire to track him down. We have a ship and a business only by our cooperation and only if we can keep it. But the incentive is great. We are not here to sell our labor to distant and disinterested owners, but to taste the fruit of our labors directly, to make money. A lot of money for all of us. The only thing standing in our way, aside from our customers occasionally, is the subtractor of costs. If it grows too large, the business will inevitably dissolve, and we won't get paid. These costs come in mostly two forms: ship repairs and people repairs. For the ship, the rules of supply and demand work against us. We can't sail into a port of the Empire seeking repairs without raising questions. So we must only visit pirate-friendly ports with pirate-friendly dock workers, mostly far away in the New World, which raises repair costs considerably. For pirates, each broken mast or cannon hole is more costly than for the Empire. So, for business reasons, we prefer not to fight. Also, fighting incurs personnel costs, since we know that some crew will be injured in battle, permanently, and it's just a roll of the cosmic dice as to who and to what. The contract we decide on lists generous compensation for lost legs, arms, hands, eyes. Thus, after the treasure is seized, the injured are compensated, the ship is repaired, supplies replenished, the remainder is profit, the glorious profit. And your one share, after one successful voyage with us, will be worth years of labor with the Empire. So, are you compelled to join? I'd like to hear from the captain.
Hey Majors, so I'd like to start off with a little biology lesson. When a species finds itself living on an island, it can start to evolve in strange ways based on the different pressures applied by the new environment. This is called island syndrome, and while it can manifest in a lot of ways, the biggest driving force is often a lack of predators. For example, the dodo lost its ability to fly since there was nothing to flee from. The saint killed a field mouse got twice as big since it no longer had to hide. And with no one around to bully them, the Sardinians started putting maggots in their cheese. Meet kazumartsu, literal translation, rotten cheese. It's made by taking a perfectly good wheel of pecorino and letting a special type of fly lay eggs in it. The fly babies then work to partially digest the cheese, rendering it goopy and wet and maybe quite tasty and worm-filled. Now, cheese as a concept is already quite suspect. It's clotted milk that you fill with bacteria and mold and let sit for a while. But cheese is safe and delicious. Cheese is my friend. I trust cheese. So my guard would be down around kazumartsu. I've learned to look past a cheese's childhood. Strange upbringings are what give them their character. But it turns out, those maggots are still alive, and if you don't chew well enough, they can cause enteric myiasis, which is a fancy term for fly larvae living in your intestines. Symptoms are similar to food poisoning, except with the added psychic pain of knowing that, again, your bowels are full of squiggly new friends. It's for this reason that kazumartsu is banned in the EU and elsewhere. A black market still exists, which is wild, and it's not a small one. In 2019, the illicit kazumartsu trade was estimated to be worth 2 to 3 million euros annually. Personally, I would just do it prohibition style, like definitely don't put these fly eggs on this sumptuous wheel of pecorino. But if you do, you absolutely shouldn't keep it warm and damp for a week. But although it's traditional to leave the larvae alive when you eat your mag and cheese, some consumers still prefer them dead, shockingly. In that case, one puts the cheese in a sealed bag, and when the maggots run out of oxygen, they writhe around and fling themselves all over the place. This is heard as a distinct pitter-patter against the walls of the bag, and when the sound stops, the contents are ready to eat. like popcorn. Shark fin soup is one most of us have heard about already, mostly in reference to its effect on shark populations and the wastefulness that goes into making it. Until recently though, I never looked into the nature of the dish itself. I figured, right, the fins are just the only part of the shark worth eating. Big whoop, it's probably not much different from like swordfish. Apparently though, I had it backwards. Shark fins aren't even meat. They're made almost entirely of cartilage and collagen. They are the last part we should be eating. That's why it's only made into soup, because without being soaked in broth, it has zero flavor or nutritional value on its own. Their only redeeming quality is their unique mouthfeel due to how stringily the collagen grows, in structures called ceratotrichia. The texture has been described as somewhere between chewy and crunchy, which I find describes most things, actually. Other adjectives present on Wikipedia include snappy, gelatinous, and sinewy. The exact sensation of eating this substance remains a mystery to me, and the unintended side effect of all this research is that I now really want to try it. Like, it's a big trade. I've got to be the one that's wrong. There is imitation shark fin soup available, but I've already decided that it's not nearly as good, so I've come up with a compromise to this controversy. Everyone on Earth gets just one bite. Say there's 10 bites to a fin, 4 fins to a shark, 200 million sharks die, sure, a necessary casualty, but then we can end the practice forever. All done. You can finally rest, Mr. Ming. Come here, baby. Aw. Aki. What? Aki. Where? Aki. The aki is a fruit originally from West Africa, which is most commonly associated with Jamaican cuisine, where it appears in such dishes as aki and saltfish. These alien kidneys here are called the arils, and they're the only part of the fruit that's actually eaten. Their flavor is on the savory side, being described as kinda nutty or bean-like. What makes the aki controversial, though, is the effects it can cause when prepared improperly. If the arils are allowed to completely ripen, they're harmless, but if you eat them too early, or don't thoroughly clean off all the non-aril stuff, they can cause Jamaican vomiting sickness. This disease doesn't sound real, it sounds like it belongs next to Eastern sweats and Tangerian bone grindings, but that's actually an official term, and as for symptoms, it does what it says on the tin. Plus maybe death. While aki-based products aren't outright illegal in the United States, they are very tightly regulated, and the raw fruit itself cannot be imported. So if you're American and want to try it, your options are fully cooked canned aki or going to Florida where a few people grow it domestically. Next we have bird's nest soup. This is another one that I've vaguely heard of, and for years I just assumed the name was a playful metaphor like ants on a log or shit on a shingle. Turns out, nope, this dish contains an actual bird nest. Not like a pile of twigs like I was picturing, but rather a specific type of nest only made by certain species of swiftlets. These nests are mostly made out of mucins, which are a set of proteins that, among other things, serve to thicken all those wonderful secretions our bodies make. There's a little bit in human saliva, a little bit more in mucus, and in swiftlet saliva, look out, pal. So all the swiftlet does is it finds a nice wall, starts laying out fat strings of slobber, which dry, and eventually she's got a nice place to roost. That is, right up until some gourmand says,
today I crave bird spit. You can keep the eggs though.
And they then reconstitute it back into its original gelatinous texture. Unfortunately, these nests can't enter the US since, believe it or not, eating bird saliva is a great way to catch bird flu. And now the time has come to speak of the ortolan. The ortolan is a kind of bunting, which is a sort of passerine, which is a type of bird. They're birds. Like many animals, they have a long history of being eaten by the French, but what separates the ortolan from your average squab or pheasant is the unique way in which it is prepared and eaten. They're typically caught with nets and kept in the dark, which causes them to overeat for some reason. Once it's about twice as fat, the entire bird is then thrown into a container of brandy, alive, and sealed in. While this serves to marinate the creature, it also drowns in the process, thereby killing one bird with no stones. The ortolan is then roasted, plucked, and presented whole to the consumer, who inserts the carcass into their mouth, feet first. As they chew, one hand continues holding the bird's head, while the other picks out the larger bones. This whole ritual is usually performed with a towel or large napkin over one's head. There's a few explanations for the purpose of the towel. Some say it's just there to keep the aromas in, while others say it's there to, quote, shield from God's eyes the shame of such a decadent and disgraceful act. Yeah, this one I'm okay with not trying, actually. Notable fans of this dish include, not joking, Bill Cosby and the guy who invented the lobotomy. To be part of that social club. Our mission is to eat birds whole and then make people not remember things. Killing ortolans was banned across the EU in 2007, not for any ethical reason, but because French people did this so much that the entire ortolan population was threatened. Thankfully, as of 2018, their conservation status is under least concern, so hopefully the French can get back to it soon. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and thank you for watching.
I
You cannot always tell the character of a man from the character of his youth. "1878, the Congress of Berlin. A graying man with a proud walrus mustache stands and says, 'Europe today is a powder keg, and the leaders are like men smoking in an arsenal. A single spark will set off an explosion that will consume us all. I cannot tell you when that explosion will occur, but I can tell you where. Some damned foolish thing in the Balkans will set it off.' 1897. A prince in the middle of his life goes to visit the man, the old man now. It is the last time the two will meet, for the younger, Wilhelm II, dismissed this old man years before. But as their visit concludes, the old man issues a warning. He says, 'Your Majesty, so long as you have this present officer corps, you can do as you please. But when this is no longer the case, it will be very different for you.' Then he says, 'The crash will come 20 years after my departure if things go on like this.' The old man will die in July of 1898. In November 1918, that prince, Wilhelm II, will abdicate the throne, having lost the backing of his army in the disaster that was the First World War. Bismarck's prediction was off by only 4 months. Such was the mind that would use Europe for a chessboard and redraw the map forever. But this was something that few could see in his youth. Otto's time in grade school was middling, and we know little of his early teenage years. But at 17, when he enters college, we begin to get a picture of the man. 6 feet of dashing, with a tousled mane of copper blonde hair, often seen walking not with a walking stick, but with a twisted staff of iron. He cut a dashing figure. Classes weren't really for him. He stopped going almost immediately, preferring Byron and Walter Scott as tutors to any other. He was quick with words and equally quick to a challenge. He got himself into more than 1 duel per month while he was at his first university, engaging in 26 contests of honor and being wounded only once. To his dying day, he would insist that he was only wounded because his opponent's rapier broke. He consumed monumental amounts of alcohol, discovered a profound, if not so profound, love of the fairer sex, and managed to rack up a small mountain of debts. Most intriguing of all, though, he got himself cast as a character named Otto von Rebenmark when his roommate wrote a novel about their wild college life. By the way, this man, who was quite aptly named Motley, would soon become a historian of some note, and one of the diplomats who kept Europe from siding with the Confederacy in the American Civil War. Anyway, that wild college life of theirs eventually caught up to Otto, and he moved to Berlin both to attend law school and to dodge the consequences of his roguish ways. Still rooming with Motley, he never once went to class while in law school, but when graduation time drew near, he hired what is politely known as a crammer at the last minute, and managed to pass the exam to become a practitioner of law. And all the while, he read voraciously. Not only romantic poets, but also history, economics, and philosophy. Although not the heady abstractions of Hegel or Kant that were the rage at the time. By the time he left law school, he felt ready for a career in the diplomatic service. Unfortunately, the foreign minister did not hold a high opinion of the diplomatic abilities of Prussian nobility, and preferred to hire from without. So, rather than being assigned some glorious foreign posting, Bismarck was soon sent to Aachen, a territory taken from the French in the Napoleonic Wars, and he was given the job of figuring out how to better integrate it into Prussia. This task never really captured his interest. It was the English he was far more interested in, for Aachen had become a popular spa and vacation spot for the English gentry, and, more notably, their daughters. Unfortunately, he was soon canned after he overstayed a river trip with one of these daughters by 3 months. It took some significant family influence to get this self-designated leave quietly swept under the rug, and Otto was soon involuntarily volunteered for the army. But before even his year of mandatory service was done, his mother took ill and died. This tragedy finally made his path clear. His father had never been good at managing anything, and his mother had run their more unruly estates. With her passing, Otto would take over this duty. A gentleman farmer's life for him. He was completely unprepared for this task, but he did still have his secret weapon, the one expedient that had carried him through every challenge life dealt him: cramming. So as his military service wrapped up, he devoured books on agricultural science, estate management, and economics. He even managed to get himself into a soil chemistry course at a nearby agricultural institute. Armed with this knowledge, he set to his task with vigor. And so, even as the agricultural markets of Northern Europe collapsed around him, his estate grew in value, and his diligence was matched only by his eccentricity. He became known for unpredictable behavior, like marking his entrance into a neighbor's house by firing a pistol into their ceiling, or releasing foxes into people's drawing rooms. He earned the nickname the Wild Man Bismarck from the locals, and, as always, from the local ladies as well. But this wild man treated his laborers well, much better than their ceilings and drawing rooms anyway, and he further devoted himself to his studies, diving deep into history, poetry, English politics, and even philosophy, though he did still have a preference for Spinoza over the German philosophers that were informing many of his more liberal colleagues' thoughts at the time. All of this, and perhaps age, began to refine him, to smooth out his roughest edges. And though country life weighed heavy on him, in many ways he was well suited for it. It looked as though the life of a country squire was to be his calling. Over time, he settled in, he made friends. He even married a woman who seemed wholly unsuited to him, a quiet, devout woman with no interest in politics or English poetry. But she made him quite happy. In fact, he adopted her religion, pietism, to marry her. And such is the strange character of Bismarck that he did so earnestly, or at least he adopted the parts of her faith which he earnestly found compelling. But her father doubted that Otto was sincere in his conversion. This was the wild man Bismarck, after all. But Bismarck had a plan. Bismarck always has a plan. He wrote his beloved's father a letter detailing his path to finding faith, and when the man still hesitated, Bismarck, being Bismarck, seized the moment, tore all the way across Pomerania in the middle of winter, and showed up at the man's estate to convince him in person. When Bismarck returned from this excursion, he found on his desk a letter. It was an invitation to take charge of running the dikes on the Elbe. It may not seem like much, but it was an official position. His time in the doghouse with the government might be over. So he attacked the work. Then, in 1847, something monumental happened. The King of Prussia called a parliament. For the first time, Prussians would get together, debate, and vote on things. But Otto's wedding date was near, and besides, he hated Berlin, and he was a staunch conservative, believing in the power of the monarchy at a time when liberalism and democracy were in vogue. Even the idea of a parliament grated against his royalist leanings, for though this was a summoned rather than an elected parliament, it was almost certainly going to be used to push for a proper elected parliament, one which, by its very nature, must take its power from the royal government. So he was reluctant to go. Even if he were to be summoned, he might not. But then fate turned. He received another letter. An acquaintance, whose good graces he wanted to stay in, had suddenly fallen ill, and now requested that Otto take up his post as representative of the Prussian Saxon nobility. This request made no sense, as technically Otto was not part of the Prussian Saxon nobility. His estates were all either in Altmark or Pomerania. But never mind that, he couldn't turn down such an important request. So he made his way to the United Diet, where a push for a true parliament was already in session. Pro-democratic speeches were given. One man got up and declared that the Prussian people had only thrown back Napoleon because they were promised a constitution. This was too much. Bismarck stood and responded that the Prussian people had thrown back Napoleon for Prussia. Did the man really think that Prussians wouldn't have stood up against an invader without being promised a piece of paper? The hall erupted in boos. People shouted and stamped. The place was chaos. But Bismarck, being Bismarck, just picked up a newspaper and began to leisurely read through it until they were quite done. And then he finished his speech. And in that moment, Bismarck the country squire became Bismarck the statesman.
Today we're going to be talking about bone screws. Now I promise we're not going to be machining bone screws. We have plenty of videos on that on our channel. Check them out if you haven't seen them already. But bone screws are an important piece of equipment on the medical field. Just ask anyone who's broken a few bones. They probably have some inside of their body. Thankfully I've never needed them. Hopefully it stays that way. Let's fingers crossed. But have you ever wondered what kind of tool is used to put those bone screws into your body? It's obviously not some screwdriver that you can get at the Home Depot, but a much more specialized tool. Today I'm going to be making a cannulated Torx driver for a bone screw. This particular one is like a bit that would go into a surgical driver in the hospital. What makes it cannulated is the center hole running through it. That allows you to run a guide wire or a K-wire through the bit and through the bone screw. That wire helps guide the bone screw through its intended path into your body so it can be placed accurately and kept in from going in crooked. Like machining, putting in a bone screw into your body is a very precise operation with little room for error. I'm running this part today on the Tornos GT32. We're going to be running it out of 875 7/8 diameter 304 stainless steel. I'm also going to be running one out of brass like we usually do, so that way I can run the part dry. The 304 needs coolant. There is one exception on running it dry, which I'll explain in a minute, because we're going to have to run coolant on one tool. I'm going to start off by facing the part with a CCGT insert, and then once that face is flush, we're going to run our two drills. We have two Kendrill micros, 78 thousandths diameter, so they're very small. One's a 2xD drill, and one is a 20xD drill. We're going to start off by running the 2xD drill first as a pilot hole, and then afterwards we're going to run the big 20xD drill. I need to run coolant on the 20xD Kendrill micro to make sure that chips don't pack up inside of that hole, since it's a very small hole, and that way I can make sure that the tool isn't going to break. After we have our small hole put into the part, then I'm going to recall the first tool, the CCGT insert, and we're going to rough out the front of the part. I have this roughing pass split into two, so we're going to rough out the first half of the part. Then I'm going to come in with another CCGT insert, and we're going to finish the first half of the part. After that, we can start milling out the Torx feature on the front of the part. I'm using a 94 thousandths ball mill from Kennametal. It's a 2-flute ball mill, and this tool actually has a bigger shank at the bottom where it's being held. So the base of the tool is bigger. That gives us some added stability so that the part doesn't shatter. After we put in the full torque feature, we go around the part 6 times. Then we can start on the second half of the part. We recall up our CCGTs, both the rougher and the finisher, to do the second half of the part. After we rough and finished out all the turn surfaces that we can reach on this side of the part, we're going to come in with a dual lock Harvey 1 end mill, and we're going to put the flats on both sides of the part. After we put in those two flats, we can finally do our pick-off operation and part it off. I'm using a 118 wide part-off tool, and it's going to grab the part it off, send it to the second side, and then while op 1's running, op 2 is going on. On the second op, I just have two tools. I have a really small CCGT that is roughing and finishing the second side of the part. And then afterwards, I have a 1/8 end mill, 125 diameter. This is a Harvey 1 TE 4-flute end mill, and this is putting in the pockets on both sides of the part. After it's done with all the milling work, it then goes and ejects the part, and we have a part complete. So let's talk about the drills for a moment. If you remember a while ago, my father put out a video on how to have success when you drill with long drills. I do something very similar on this part. If you haven't seen that video, check it out because it's super informative and it sets you up to have success when you're doing long drilling. I have two drills here. One is a 2xD drill, one is a 20xD drill. These are both Kendrill micros. They're exactly the same except for the drill length, so they have the same angle, the same diameter. And we start the hole out with this 2xD drill, using it as a pilot drill. So we start the hole, go as far as this drill can go. I'm running it at 5,000 RPM with a feed rate of 0.8 per revolution. And then after I run this small drill, I come in with the long 20xD drill. This drill I need to run with coolant through to flush out any chips. We started at a slower feed rate just until I reach where this drill finished off, and then we engage it, go full feed, 0.8 per revolution, 5,000 RPM. We go all the way in. I have a slight dwell at the bottom of the hole, and then we pull out the drill, flushing out any chips that are remaining. The hole comes out perfect every time. I know my dad did his video with the 40 times D drill, which was much bigger. It had a bigger diameter. But these 2mm drills, they can be pretty sketchy because of how flimsy they are. So I'm glad it worked, and I didn't have any issues when I did that. All right, so let's run the rest of the part. All right, so we got the part. It looks good. Let's go check it out in inspection. What I'm actually gonna do is we're gonna zero it out on the face here. That feature looks good. I'm gonna run a pin through it now. So let's get this part off of here. Let's check the hole now. So we'll run our go pin through. Seems good. We'll run the no go. Check both sides. It's perfect. Happy with it? Now I just need to find somebody to test it on. So that's our cannulated Torx driver. I'm really happy with how it came out. That GT32, you can make anything on it. Hey, if you haven't already, make sure you check out MFG Connect. We revamped the whole thing. It just got a new update. It's available on all platforms, and it's an easy way to get in touch with me, Barry, and the other guys here at Titans of CNC. And also check out the Titans of CNC website and store. You need machines and tools anyway at your machine shop, so why not get it through us and support a good cause like free education? So check us out, and I'll see you next time.
Hey kids, today I've got another character study for you all, a man known as Zhang Zhengshang. In 1881, he was born into poverty in the Shandong region of China. His father was a head shaver, not a barber mind you. If a head shaver's a barber, then a ditch digger's an architect. He also moonlit as an alcoholic. His mom, meanwhile, was a literal practicing witch and exorcist, already a recipe for success. Zhang joined a group of roving bandits at age 20, as one does, right around the Xinhai Revolution, where the Qing dynasty was overthrown and the Republic of China was established. But in 1916, the kidneys of the nation's widely disliked monarchist leader done shat the bed, causing a power vacuum that ultimately led to what is known as the warlord era of the Republic. During this time, different regions of China were constantly shifting hands between a collection of separate military groups, all of whom were ruthless both to each other and to the people they ruled over. And through charisma, favors to the right people, and a keen sense of military pragmatism, our humble highwayman soon came to be one of these warlords. Now Zhang was quite skilled as a leader of war. After the Russian Civil War, he recruited thousands of fleeing white Russians, not beverages, but Bolshevik butchers, butchers, which bolstered his battalions and brought big bonuses to his bloodshed. He also made efficient use of armored trains, which proved to be highly cost-effective at transporting large amounts of troops and supplies. But that's not what you people care about. You want some clownage. Well, rest assured, Zhang was quite the character. Now, we all know the age-old debate between positive and negative reinforcement. On the one hand, if you treat people well, you'll probably get the same treatment back later down the line. But on the other hand, nobody's ever taught a tiger to jump through flaming hoops with just pets and temptations. And if you think that's messed up, that's because, well, yeah, it is. Circuses are fucking evil. But like all great leaders, Zhang knew how to appropriately apply both the carrot and the stick. As an example of the former, he defeated the forces of enemy General Wu Peifu largely by convincing members of his army to defect, with the promise that they could keep their original rank after switching sides, which he fulfilled. But then he was like, yeah, I don't know if my loyal men would be too happy about being outranked by strangers. Well, only one solution here. All my guys are ranking up. Problem was, so many officers were promoted that Zhang literally ran out of gold and silver to make new insignias. He was like, I gotta think about this. Went out for a smoke, looked down, hey, wait a minute, and had the rest of the emblems made out of the colorful foil found in cigarette packages. It said that during the promotion ceremony, people would look down and notice their little star already had a rip in it before the event was even over. But hey, there's still a colonel or poobah or whatever now, they can't complain. On another occasion, he proudly announced that he would either win an upcoming battle or return home in his coffin. And though Zhang was many things, he was not a liar. So after he ended up retreating, his men paraded him through the streets in a casket while he waved and sheafed on a cigar. So you're probably wondering why they called him the dog meat general. At this point, my head was swimming with lurid fantasies about him eating dog flesh or wearing dog flesh or eating dog flesh. Turns out, nah, he was just real into pai gao, of which the act of playing was colloquially referred to as eating dog meat. And also because he ate dogs. He was also sometimes jokingly referred to as the three don't knows, since he didn't know how much money he had, how many concubines he had, or how many men were in his army. Well, funny, there was some truth to the nickname, which did sometimes cause issues. Some were minor. For one, he had a lot of trouble remembering the names of the 30 to 50 women of all nationalities in his harem, but he got around this by just assigning them numbers. Number 4 is real flexible, 27 makes a killer quiche, watch out for 14, she's a biter, and so forth. Other times, things got a little more dire. Later in his career, Zhang became the military governor of the province of Shandong, and while the warlord life suited him, domestic affairs were another story. Rampant human rights violations aside, the whole thing was just way poorly managed. For example, while Zhang did collect taxes on everything from theater performances to tobacco examination licenses, relatively little of his extortions went towards his war efforts or anything practical, with most of it being funneled into vanity projects and his own personal riches. So how did he fund his army? Well, for those playing at home, it's time to take a shot, because Zhang printed tens of millions of dollars worth of paper money in the form of military stamps with no reserve to back them up. Obviously, massive inflation ensued, but Zhang just said no, insisted the stamps had a 1-to-1 conversion with real money, and continued paying his men at the same rate. Fortunately for them, the invisible hand of the market is no match for the very visible fist of the soldier, because they just kick old merchant ladies' asses till they accepted the currency at face value. But unfortunately, kicking old ladies' asses can't solve everything. In the summer of 1927, Shandong was hit with a famine caused primarily by drought. At the time, many people prayed to Zhongxian, a folk deity, in an attempt to bring rain to these crusty lands. But Zhang Zhengshang, he don't get on his knees for nobody. He walked right up to the statue in Xian's temple, starts bitch slapping it, tells it to go fornicate with its sister, and then has his artillery crew fire shells straight into the sky for hours on end to show that god who he's dealing with. Sources differ on when the next rain was, but it did eventually rain, so in the end, Zhengshang got the last laugh. Speaking of which, our boy was also a renowned poet. Here's a piece he wrote about that very event. The sky god is also named Zhang. Why does he make life hard for me? If it doesn't rain in 3 days, I'll demolish your temple. Then I'll have cannons bombard your mom. Truly prophetic. He's got a few other good ones too. Let me just dim the lights real quick. Yeah. This one's called Visiting Mount Tai. From afar, Mount Tai looks blackish, narrow on top and wide at the bottom. If you flipped it upside down, it would be narrow at the bottom and wide on top. I like that one a lot, because it's like he heard about metaphors without realizing they're supposed to have a second meaning. This one's titled Poem About Bastards. You tell me to do this, he tells me to do that. You are all bastards, go fuck your mother. Poignant. But unlike most poets besides E.E. Cummings and Emily Dickinson, Zhang was quite well endowed. He was often referred to as General 86, as when Zhang Jr. stood up straight, he could reportedly reach the length of 86 Mexican silver dollars stacked atop one another. Given a thickness of 2.4 millimeters, this would put him at around 20.6 centimeters or 8.1 inches. That's especially impressive given that he was likely malnourished during puberty due to both poverty and the 1896 famine. You racists. I thought of a few other jokes about this, but I couldn't fit them in the narrative, so I'll just rattle them off. Should have been been called the Horse Meat General. When he got out of the pool, he was General 12. This one just says Dong Hung Dong. You get the point. But all great things must eventually come to an end. After suffering a series of defeats at the hands of his enemies and a subsequent failed rebellion against a quickly reunifying China, Zhang was forced to run away in 1928, bringing his mom with him to Beppu, Japan. His time here was relatively uneventful, except for when he shot a former prince in the back for trying it on with one of his concubines. In court, he said the gun just happened to go off while he was pointing it at the center of the guy's mask. For some reason, they're like, nothing suspicious here. Gave him the choice between 15 days in prison or a $150 fine. He chose the latter. Zhang's story finally came to an end in 1932 when he went back to Shandong not as a conqueror but as a visitor. Unfortunately, it seems it takes people more than 4 years to get over murder because he was unceremoniously assassinated by the nephew of an officer that he had executed. All in all, Zhang left behind quite a strange legacy. Given the litany of horrible crimes that I've seemed to kind of gloss over, he's generally regarded as the stinkiest stain of an already messy portion of the tapestry that is Chinese history. The only remaining question is if one can truly separate the art from the artist. During his rule, Time magazine described him as China's basest warlord. I'll let you decide whether or not they forgot the DE. That's all for today. Till next time, I'm Salmonella, and I'm hiding in your fridge.
Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of internet. I can't tell if this bus driver is dumb or impatient.
What is it? Oh. What'd you get, baby? Oh, bravo, mama.
Nothing.
They saw a turtle in the middle of the road and decided to turn around and save it.
Damn it. Oh, we gotta go get... What? There's a turtle back there. They're going to save it? He's gonna get the turtle.
The police were looking for someone, but the person recording didn't want to tell them.
We got 3 cops here. They can't find the suspect. They can't find the suspect.
Oh, you think your cat's not right? I raised you my human, or my cat. Squeak toy.
These firefighters were taking down this dangerous tree that was about to fall. These random people were seen playing a card game right in the middle of the road. This guy went to an anime convention dressed up as a job application. For some reason, this bird thinks that they are a spray bottle. The bride and groom really wanted to do a Spider-Man kiss at their wedding. This plane in India was spotted taking off when one of the wheels fell right off. These guys thought of a smart and fast way to dig a line for pipes. I guess the Indonesian Air Force takes their jobs very seriously. Whoever was hired to paint this lied on their resume.
What is this? You don't know what that is.
This is how they take cows to different islands to graze on better grass. Farmers in Ireland have been doing this for hundreds of years.
Come on, stop down. Come on, up.
Well, guess it's time to hit the gym. Police report described my build as medium. The heck?
This guy really wanted to cut out the middleman.
Oh, where's the goalkeeper going? Make your fucking goal!
It got a little too windy on this highway. I didn't know something like this was even possible.
Wait, what are you going to show me?
My picture I drew.
Your picture you drew.
That's Mummy, and that's me.
And what's that?
That's Steve.
Steve?
Yeah, Steve.
Who's Steve?
My friend.
Your imaginary friend?
My best friend.
Imagine being so huge that you can't fit into a G-Wagon. This baby penguin wandered far away from the group, so the scientists helped bring them back.
This one's doing cartwheels. It's doing cartwheels.
How do you even end up in this type of situation?
Yeah, man. 做乜鬼啊？
The view of this mountain from a plane flying over China is absolutely amazing. So how did this bird know exactly what to do?
哎，错了，对，就是这个。
This cat has a little black heart on the back of its head.
Bro, why are you talking like that? Why are you? Oh my God! Hello!
His arms are too short to defend himself. That is the end of this video, or I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
Hello! So you want to be a pirate, my lad? Well, let me tell ye, being a pirate be all about branding. Yar, it's a business, but branding be bringing in the booty, and if ye be shipping with our jolly crew, ye need love this Jolly Roger. Question, isn't waving a pirate flag like waving a "We Are Thieves" flag? It seems not helpful. This skull and crossbones be more than just a bit of "arg, look at us." It's plumage prerequisite for plundering. As pirates, we be wanting booty. Booty be licious. But parties protect their booty, preferring it unplundered. So we must plunder asunder, which 'tis a lot of work and risk. Who needs that? See, we want free booty. When we ask for booty, booty to be granted and bounce. But why would a ship just give up? The branding! Plus a surprise reveal. You were right, we don't fly the flag for fun, we fly false flags, keeping the Roger hidden for just the right moment. Our ship be lean and mean, and we hide this too. With prey in sight, we billow barrels behind, so though our sails be full, our speed be slow, and we seem fat and full, with supplies kept above deck for greater effect. Okay, that's pretty clever. But this be my favorite, a camouflaged hull, painted canvas unfurled to cover the true number of guns. Behold! That looks pretty fake. Yar, it need only look good from afar. The ships be seen at a distance, through a looking glass on the high seas. Branding is image, not reality. And Empire and merchants do the reverse, carving and painting fake cannon to intimidate. But fake guns don't shoot, now do they? So, we be sailing slowly along, all "how do you do, fellow countrymen?" Then, when close enough, the reveal. Cutting our cover, unfurling the flag, ditching the drag, and sullying pantaloons. That's branding. Do it right, and they won't fight. Why, again? I feel like you're not answering this question. Look, think like one of those poor seaman sods yonder. Imagine ye be working for the Empire, minding yourself, when, surprise, pirates, please present your booty. This guy's the worst. Your captain can choose to fight or not, but if ye fight and if ye lose, we will torture crewmen to death while others watch. Oh, that's not jolly. That's not jolly at all. Look, sometimes misguided men will try to hide booty, and we can't have that. We don't want to torture, understand? I scorn to do anyone a mischief when it not for my advantage. But brands must mean something, and torturing over hidden treasure is quite memorable, which generates effective word-of-mouth marketing. At least from those who have told us the truth about hidden treasure and thus get to keep their tongues. Ah, so be the sailor's choice. Fight, lose, maybe torture for you, maybe death for you. Pirates get booty anyway. What a hassle for nothing, and we make it so easy to give up. If your captain simply surrenders, we leave everyone alone. No fighting, no torture, just a transference of booty between ships passing on the high seas. On the other hand, you could fight, and you might win, though maybe as less of a man than before, but lose, and you might beg for mercy in the last and longest moments of your life. Boop. The flag we raise lets ye know your options before loading that cannon. And we have one more surrender incentive. Say the target captain calls his men to fight to protect his booty. That captain is a fool, and probably cruel, treating his men like mule, feeding them gruel while admiring a jewel, the whole crew sick of his rule. When they see our flag and the captain's command, the crew can mutiny, letting us aboard without resistance, and as thanks for their assistance, we be holding a court of the captain where his crew can complain. Knowing this chance corrodes a captain's confidence in command, given the crew's critique of his conduct could conclude his career. It's hilarious. Though the Empire calls us outlaws, we also be angels of vengeance on the high seas. What branding, terror and mercy and justice combined. It's beautiful. So, that's the pirate's life. Sure, the Empire's noose will dangle over your head, but you'll have brothers in arms and booty in hand. What say ye? I'd like to talk to that guy before I decide.
必要として愛しいなら執着を見せつけておかしいのがたまらなく好きになるいけるとこまでいけないよ迷い込んだ心なら簡単に溶けてくる優しさなんて感じる暇などないくらい繰り返したのはあの夢じゃなくて紛れもない現実の私たち触れてから戻れないと知るそれでいいの誰よりも大切なあな夜明けが来ると不安で泣いてしまう私に大丈夫とささやいたあなたも泣いていたの抱き寄せてほしい確かめてほしい間違いなどないキスをして
Cuddles underscore the underscore bunny fed $50 worth of snackies. Here's child support you goober. If this works cause I haven't been paid yet and it should post tomorrow or the day after I get paid.
I see it all in your eyes as I've been there before, wanting more. But there is no cure, I won't lie. So take me to your midnight shore and lock the door. 君がそんな声を出すとその目も宇宙みたい意味なんてなくていいから So who am I to deny? And now I know how your lipstick tastes. Bitter like promises never made. Won't you dare to fool me once again? Am I just a doll who can pretend? もっと深く沈めて終われば全てよ Yeah, every life was more than it ever meant. Though I know deep in my heart that all would fall apart before we start. But as my tears slowly subside, you'd still be the only one who's in my side. もう戻れない Baby, I am blind. そう言い聞かせて As if stars align. 夢見てるだけバカみたいだね Still you're in my mind, still you're in my mind, still you're in my mind. I play along. I understand just what you want. So let me feel special for once. Won't you dare to fool me once again? Am I just a doll who can pretend? もっと深く
Fortnite.
Chicken. We'd like to take a moment to announce that all our food keeps blowing up.
I got my heart a helmet. I tried my best to be worth all your while. You just gotta let me go as I'm trying to let go of you. Oh, let me, allow me to let go of you. Oh, let me
Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of internet. So I guess she instantly froze his beer by using magic. These paintballers are getting ready to sprint out into battle.
뭔데? 점프. 점프하래.
This has to be the loudest bottle opening of all time.
Olha aí, ó. Tomador de coca original abre assim ela.
Eita caralho!
Valeu.
Exactly how.
This magician was testing out a new special effect for one of his shows.
Oh!
He met his baby brother for the very first time.
Gentle. Can you give a kiss? Okay, all done.
Her dog had a feeling that something was about to happen.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
He was super confident that his truck could handle the weight.
More. Curl the bucket. There you go.
Come on. Come on. Come on.
They started celebrating a little too early. It's really important that you don't forget to prep your turkeys. This has to be the coolest Harry Potter wand. Her legs cramped up and she couldn't finish, so a competitor stopped by to help out.
Doncs vinga, l'Aina que s'esperarà per ajudar-la. I aquí la tenim. Entrant a meta, és colador tir i Aina Cinca.
So I guess this is what some funerals look like in Ghana and West Africa.
Idaba. Oh.
This driver had no idea that his truck was leaking concrete onto the road. She had a feeling that she was talking to an AI representative, so she decided to try and trick it.
If you have any questions or need assistance, feel free to let
So
me know.
wait, what's your name?
My name is Nicole.
When's your birthday?
I don't have a birthday like a real person would.
When it's finally warm enough, cows in Sweden come out of their barns to see the grass for the first time in months. They somehow train their other cat to help out. This pilot couldn't come in for a landing because these two giraffes were standing on it.
Are you being a nosy neighbor?
Made you like. Damn!
They put this glove in a vacuum and try to suck out all the air to see what would happen.
Oh, that's the end.
So I guess cats really hate the sound of tape. The amount of pollen that came off this tree is kind of crazy. Her child was upset because she was safely waiting for traffic to clear up before going on the road.
I cannot go. No. I can't go yet. I have to wait. No. KJ, I can't go. If I go now, we're gonna get in an accident.
It took a few seconds for me to realize why this video was so impressive. This bird was walking on a golf course and realized that golf balls are actually really bouncy. Lifeguards are learning that drones are a perfect tool to help people that might be drowning.
Did she get it? I think she got it.
So why is this so satisfying to watch? That is the end of this video. Hopefully I made your day just a little better, and I will see you guys again very, very soon. Later. Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of internet. This fire started at this Dunkin' Donuts, and the employees had no idea what to do, so this customer saved the day.
Nobody seems to care.
Yeah, there you go. Fire extinguisher right there. Here, you want me to help you? Hold on.
Put this here.
So you're gonna pull?
Yep.
This principal and student decided to prank and scare people at their graduation.
One,
Okay.
2,
Okay.
3.
Does anyone know how this works? This truck was on fire when a propane tank suddenly also caught on fire.
Here comes propane tank.
This baby raccoon fell off the roof, but the mom saved it at the last second.
God. She's not gonna be able to get him up. She's gonna drop him. Oh no.
Look at her go.
Wow.
Imagine trying to explain that this is why you were late to work. This crow stole this dog's squeaky toy and was taunting him with it.
I'm sorry.
These people left special instructions for their delivery driver to shout when dinner arrives.
Dinner! I'm so hungry I can eat a baby that will not stop crying.
You can see the moment that she realized that she mounted this TV upside down. For some reason, his glass was sticky and got stuck to this table. The first one to shake all the balls out of the box wins the game.
Picked up the trash to take it out. There's a mouse in it. Ah! No! Holy
Hey Wes, what are you doing?
I put something on me.
Did you put it everywhere?
I put on.
Did you get any on your face?
I did.
Let me see. Oh, good.
If you throw water on dry eraser ink, you can make a drawing come to life. This delivery guy was on his way to Walmart when they asked him for some muffins.
We're causing the traffic! For real! Yeah!
This baby elephant loves to go sliding down this hill.
What is...
All right.
So you drive this thing by yourself?
Ready?
Yeah. All right, there you go.
Watch that light.
Go, 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 go!
This fancy dinner cruise just barely fit under this bridge. Her dog was terrified after they got pulled over by the police.
Goose.
I feel like being able to move your teeth around isn't a good thing. He told the waiter to take away his grandma's meal.
What the hell?
What is that? Why?
This dad has identical twins and couldn't figure out which one was which.
Kevin! Mama's talking to you. Come here. Come say hi. Come here, Liam. Who are you? Are you Kevin or Liam?
I'm Kevin.
You're Kevin? Oh, you are Kevin. Jesus Christ.
This poor dumb cat can't figure out how to get back inside.
Oh, are you serious? Don't say I never taught you anything. Did you know that if you put grapes in your lips, you'll look like a goat?
This dog is obsessed with watching squirrel videos on an iPad. This dad was chasing his son around the hotel room.
No way. That's crazy.
Bro. Excuse me. No. Excuse me.
Oh my god!
This guy walked outside at the same moment a meteor was falling from the sky.
No mames!
I don't know if this is impressive or kind of gross. That is the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
カンナこっち向いてカンナこっち向いて向いてるもう向いてる振り向きもよりすなカンナまあ教室です頑張ってる試合を見に来て見てない手に取る運命は手放す運命が増えてゆくだけそんな小さなほころびに気づいていたのに心が体を見落とすまで明日のない世界失う一つを数えることそれも愛と呼ぶだけ愛と呼ぶだけ合格発表来てます過ぎ去る将来を変わらぬ後悔を命というからどうしようもないほどにあなたに惹かれてしまうこの手を伸ばせど届かぬ願い夢は
I just got back from Seoul, and while I was there, I decided to try to learn to read the Korean alphabet, and I was amazed by how easy it was. After just a couple hours, I actually got to a point where I could read just about everything on this Wikipedia page, and I'm going to teach you how to do it in about 5 minutes. So let's start with consonants and vowels. There are 2 consonants I'll teach and 2 vowels. This here looks like a bucket, so remember the B sound. This one looks like a nose, so remember the N sound. So those are 2 consonants. This is the tree. Now for the tree, we remember E. Here you have a line after the tree. So we take the A from after, and that's ah. All right, so we already have enough to learn a word in Korean. We have bucket, and then ah for after. Nose, and then ah for after. Ba, na. then another na, so banana. Let's do a quick Google search on banana, as I did here, and sure enough, you have bananas. So banana is banana in Korean. It's your first word. Here is a gun. All right, and the gun can also look like this, as in ga here. Either way, it's the G sound. Here we have a mouth, the M sound. This is the nothing. All right, so when nothing is at the beginning of a character, it's silent. You hear nothing. It's silent at the beginning. When it's at the end of a character, it's the NG sound. So either silent or NG. This is a ski mountain, and we'll take the S. Let's do another vowel. Now our line is before. So we're going to take the O as in before for when the line's before. Let's do another word. We have S as in ski mountain, A as in after, and M as in mouth. Sam. And here we have S as in ski mountain, O as in before, and that nothing is an NG at the end, so that's song. So Sam song. Let's go back to Google, and when we look up Samsung, sure enough we have Samsung, which is the largest company in Korea. A few more. This is a ski atop the mountain, which is joy, so the J sound. And here is a skier with his hands raised, that's the champion, so the CH. So it goes SJCH. This is a rattlesnake, which is generally speaking an R for rattlesnake, or if it's the end of a character, it's often L. Another vowel, this is a brook. Looks like a river, we'll call it brook. That's the sound from brook. So let's learn more words. All right, we have gun, gi, we have the E for tree, and we have M, so that's gim. Here we have this ski atop the mountain, so that's the joy, that's J. The before, that's O, and that 0 is NG at the end, so that's gim jong. Here we have the silent, because it's at the beginning of a character this time. We have the as in brook, and we have the nose, so that's N, so that's un. So Kim Jong-un. And now if we want to get his dad, we have the silent, we have the tree, E, and we have the rattlesnake, which when at the end of a character is often the L sound, so that's Il. So we have Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, which I'm sure you know what you're going to see here with a Google image search. You have Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-il. Let's do the remainder of most of the consonants. We have, this is a door, so that's D. This is a part 2, the Roman numeral 2, that's the P sound, and this looks a bit like a golf hole, so that's H. For hole, more vowels. Above or over the brook is the O sound. Here we have a line over. Here we have a line under. We're going to take the U from under, that's U. And one thing Korean can do is give you 2 lines instead of 1. I say, why are there 2 lines? We just add the letter Y to the beginning of the sound. So this was under U, with 2 it's U. Here over O becomes yo, A for after becomes ya, and O as in before becomes yo. 1 more or 2 more vowels I'll teach you. You have 2 trees with a line in front, or 2 trees with a line in the middle. Either way, that's A, as in play. I don't have a trick for it. Koreans can tell a difference between these 2 characters. To me, they sound the exact same, so let's just go with A for those. All right, so let's just do 1 more word before finishing. Gun, A as in after, and NG for nothing, that's gang. And here we have nose, A as in after, mouth, so nam, so that's gangnam. All right, and we'll do a quick YouTube video search. And sure enough, we have Gangnam Style. We just learned to write Gangnam. And if you go back to this Wikipedia page, this is actually the page for Gangnam, which if you look at the bottom here, you can tell it's just a neighborhood in Seoul. So that's about it. Hope it helped.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is the greatest dating website of all time? Is it Match.com? Is it a website like Tinder? FarmersOnly.com? No. The answer to that question is in fact Twitter. Now, today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to slide into DMs. Why should you listen to me? I have slid in over 100 DMs with a success rate of 37.5%. Now, to put that into perspective, Steph Curry shoots from the three-point line at 44% at the peak of his career. All I'm saying. All right, a little bit about Twitter. They made this the greatest dating app of all time by not advertising it as a dating website. So it takes away this level of thirst that comes with people who use other dating websites such as Tinder. Now, Statista.com, an article or a trusted source for statistics, said that there are over 319 million monthly users of Twitter. And Kit Smith, a writer for Brandwidth.com, said in an article titled 44 Twitter Statistics, there are over 500 million tweets daily. Now, my estimation from my own personal research is that 20% of these are due to loneliness, 5% are general salt or shade that they're throwing at exes, 10% are from their own general thirst. And what that means is there is a lot of hot mamas for you to chase after on this website. But before you do any of that, before you slide in any of these DMs, you need to get rid of thirst. Because thirst is one of the most unattractive features that you can have. It is one of the biggest red flags and turnoffs in this generation by far. You can't come into the DMs unless you are hydrated. Now, what thirst is, it is defined as a state of being too eager for something, wanting something too bad. It usually has a connotation for sex, and that is why it is such a big turnoff. And you must avoid all of this at all costs. You can get close to people online, but you must never ask for sex online. You must be strictly trying to get to know this person. How to avoid being thirsty. Now, you would never, ever, ever ask about anyone's sexual history when texting someone in their DMs. Never, ever send naked pictures. Never ask for anything you wouldn't feel comfortable with if your mom was in the room. Avoid artists like Chief Keef, XXXTentacion, and the Yin Yang Twins. Stick to Drake and J. Cole type music because they know how to treat their girls. Now, there are certain emojis that you must stick away from when you are in the DMs. These are what I like to call the emoji no-fly list. The cat with hard eyes, don't go there. This drooling face emoji, don't go there. Any emoji with tongues coming out of the mouth, don't go there. Wedding rings, no. Eyes, no. Finger pointing to this mouth, no. This tongue, no. Any emoji that has to deal with water, no. This peach and this eggplant, definitely not. Be very cautious with winky faces, moaning faces, and surprise faces, pregnant faces, family faces, and any heart other than the normal red heart because those ones are just extra. Direct messaging. That's what I like to call the art of sliding in DMs. Now, direct messages are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But sliding in DMs, that is only used with the term Twitter. Now, usually, people would have to go out in the street. Before Twitter, they would have to meet someone. You could get rejected in public. That's a scary thing. But now, with Twitter, you can do it from the comfort of your own bed. And if you get rejected, you can just play it off like it didn't even matter. Before you slide, you're going to want to have a good avatar picture. Your avatar picture is going to be the first impression that you make on people. You need to have everything right. What's wrong with this picture, ladies and gentlemen? The angle is terrible. It is a terrible angle. That's a terrible picture, and I'm not looking into the camera. That shows a lack of confidence in myself. That's not a good... This one's better. This one's better. I up the camera angle. Now I have a bit of a jawline. I'm looking right into the camera. This is a little bit better. Change the lighting. Now my skin looks a little bit more tan. Maybe I'm a dude who likes to go out on the beach. I took this a couple hours ago. But the question people ask themselves daily is, what if I'm ugly? What do you do if you're ugly and you need an avatar picture? Well, the people at Snapchat have been trying to counteract ugliness for a long, long time. And Snapchat filters got you covered. Now you can just smack something on your face and cover up all of the ugly parts. And it's technically not a catfish because it's still you. Yeah, you. And now you can get them closer to you and win them over with your personality so maybe looks wouldn't matter. Or if you're really ugly, you can pay someone like a graphic designer to Photoshop yourself for about $5. But before you slide in, sliding in DMs is a lot like knocking on someone's front door or meeting someone on the street. You don't want to be a complete stranger. That's really, really awkward. So what you're going to want to do to break this barrier of me not knowing you is you're going to want to throw some likes back and forth. Don't go crazy. About like 2 or 3 likes per week is enough to get your face out there, but not an alarming amount. Maybe you can respond to a couple tweets. Get in those mentions before you get in those DMs. Make your overall presence known. Remember, say it with me, don't be a stranger. All right, remember. What sliding is? Sliding is the initiation of a conversation. There's a couple methods to sliding, but with all these methods, you want to slide with confidence. The methods that I like to use are comedy, a purpose or question, or the reverse DM. Now, what I'm going to talk about first is the reverse DM, because it's a very interesting topic. Now, girls usually, guys and girls, when they're bored, they'll post something like this. Favorite, and I'll DM my honest opinion about you. Now, this is a way for you to get them in your DMs first, and then not only when you do this, not only when you do this are they in your DMs, they also give you a general feeling of how they feel about you, so you know if it's worth pursuing this person. It's also a great conversation starter because you can talk about how this person knows you if they in fact do. Here's an example of a girl actually who goes here who slid into my DMs. I liked one of her TVHs, and she said, TVH, you're funny ASF, and you seem chill. Conversation's going great. This was yesterday. I'll update you guys later. Now, the next type of sliding into DM is the purposeful DM. These are ones where you ask a question. This takes away a bit of the randomness that comes in when someone knocks at your door, because you now have a purpose of why you're in these DMs. So you can ask people a question like, where do I know you from? Have I seen you before? My tip to you is to make it something that you have in common. Now, somebody's Twitter is usually just a bunch of hints on things that they like. Find something that they like, and then ask them about it. Now, another thing to do is to never lie, because if you lie, then it will be very creepy. And the same thing follows as before, do not be thirsty. The last method is one of my favorites, but it's also one of the most dangerous. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the comedic approach. Now, it's dangerous because you can actually unlock your thirst to be at your advantage in this point. You can, as long as it's funny, you can say pretty much whatever you want. And if they get rejected, here's a great part, ladies and gentlemen. It's a cop-out. You can say it was just a joke. You can keep your fragile ego intact and just tell them that you didn't even want them in the first place. It's a lot like pickup lines are in real life. I'm going to show you some examples of these comedic slide-ins. Hey, can you fill out this quick survey? Yeah, of course. New contact information. It's getting out of those DMs. Remember, the goal of DMs is to get out of those DMs, get a phone number or a meetup. Throws lob. He started in the mentions, great technique, and he caught it in the direct messages. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is a pro. Conclusion. Once you get the conversation started, don't beat around the bush. You don't have to attack them right off the bat, but you want to not waste as little time as possible. Just get in there. Let people know what you want, and you don't have to creep around for a lot. What are the 3 things that I talked about today and how to slide in DMs? 1, you're going to want to avoid thirst. 2, get that profile pic right. 3, slide with confidence. And 4, don't be a stranger when you're knocking on that door. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
So, you want to build a nuke, eh? Well, for that, you'll need some uranium. Uranium is a radioactive element. It has many uses, including curing cancer, generating power, and making people immediately stop fucking existing. Anyway, once you've mined some uranium, you'll need to enrich it. Why? Because isotopes. If you vary the neutrons in an element, you get different cosplay versions of that element. And the version we want here is uranium-235 because it's good in bombs and shit. So it's off to the centrifuges for some whizzy fun time, and soon you'll have shiny apocalypse cookies before you can say nuclear holocaust. And if you're still serious about building this thing, we'll need to talk about fission and fusion. Thanks to this smoking hot piece of physicist booty, we now know you can make a little bit of mass into a lot of energy. And one way of doing that is via fission. Fission is when you give big atomic nuclei a bonk and convert them into smaller nuclei, and you get loads of energy from that. It's how nuclear reactors work, and also bombs. Fusion is the reverse of that basically, where nuclei combine. It's how the sun works, and also bombs. In a fission bomb, the goal is to get the uranium to release neutrons. One can do this via explosives, or claiming to have engaged in sexual intercourse with the uranium's mother. These neutrons will hit the unstable nuclei of the rest of the uranium, and at that point, well, whatever argument it was that led you to detonate this thing, let's just say you won that one. But if you're really pissed off, then you'll need a fusion bomb. This is a double whammy. The first stage is fission, then switches to fusion, creating essentially a star on Earth. Anyway, that's your nuke built, so it's off to the races, baby. Well, we'll need somewhere quiet to test it out. How's about somewhere near the Jornado del Muerto desert in New Mexico? Lovely little spot for a picnic. Make sure to bring some jam, those little triangular sandwiches, and a crippling certainty that thanks to you, humankind will forevermore be held hostage by itself. The first ever nuclear device is detonated on July 16th, 1945, codename Trinity. The device explodes with the equivalent power of 22,000 tons of TNT. Later, Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, will say, "I remember the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, 'Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.'" Just under a month later, the B-29 Enola Gay will drop the fission bomb Little Boy over the Japanese city of Hiroshima. It will explode with the power of 15,000 tons of TNT. Above will preside a mushroom cloud 60,000 feet high. Below, 70,000 people are immediately incinerated and mutilated by a shockwave travelling faster than the speed of sound. Thousands of people who are not killed in the initial blast will be exposed to ionizing radiation, suffering the effects for decades to come: hemorrhaging, cancer, and genetic mutations. 3 days later, a second bomb called Fat Man will be dropped on the seaport of Nagasaki. At least 60,000 people will be killed. Japan will surrender 3 weeks later, and the governments of the world will almost unanimously agree that this must never happen again. Not intentionally, not by accident, not by ignorance. In 1947, the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists devised a doomsday clock, with midnight representing absolute global catastrophe. Today, the clock stands at 100 seconds to midnight. Pretty bad, but frankly it's hard to see what they're getting their little lab coats in a twist about, eh? World War II was ages ago. The threat of nuclear war is long gone. Other than, well, okay. In 1961, several 4-megaton nukes might have slightly fallen out of a B-52 over North Carolina, one of which narrowly avoided detonating because of a single safety switch. But okay, other than that, well, in 1962, a Soviet patrol submarine might have slightly lost contact with the land, the captain assuming World War III had already started and was about to fire a 10-kiloton nuke torpedo at a nearby US fleet before the flotilla commander could calm him down. And maybe 1967, when a solar flare took out a few NORAD radars, the US might have slightly freaked out and almost launched a bomber counterstrike against the Soviet Union. Then 1969, North Korea shot down a US radar surveillance plane. President Richard Nixon, allegedly drunk, gave the order for a nuclear strike in retaliation. Luckily, Henry Kissinger stepped in and we're still here. Or just the entire Cold War, basically 40 years of unrelenting nuclear panic. And then you remember the precarious state of mutually assured destruction, which is, well, when a mummy country and a daddy country hate each other very much, sometimes they get embroiled in a nuclear standoff. And one little deterrent against pushing the button is the knowledge that in the time it takes for your missiles to reach your enemy will have kindly fired theirs back at you. The idea is that if you're rational, neither of you are going to strike first. Until you remember that humans are not rational, we are, I believe the anthropological term is, fucking morons. Currently, 9 countries have nukes. That's the US, Russia, France, my homeland of crumpets and self-hate, Pakistan, India, Israel, the uppity Korea, and of course China. And that's not to mention several countries probably have hypersonic nuclear missiles now, which can fly upwards of 5 times the speed of sound, rendering modern missile defense systems about as effective as putting up a little sign that says, "Ah, don't nuke us, mate. You said you wouldn't. What are you doing? You said you wouldn't. Why are you... Oh, for fuck's sake, you're such a dick." Or rather, if these puppies launch, in the words of the motto of the US Postal Service, "Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night shall stay these couriers from swift completion of their appointed rounds." It's 100 seconds to midnight, baby. Nuclear Armageddon ain't gone anywhere. The Cold War ended in '91, but the real war, the silent war, has only just started because we discovered a 23rd century technology in the 20th century, and we're too primitive for this shit right now. And ironically, nukes are so prevalent in entertainment and media that we've almost forgotten this is real, that if we aren't constantly vigilant, apocalypse could happen anytime and it will be the end of everything, including possibly the only instance of life anywhere in the universe, all just because of some mental general or dickhead dictator. As Einstein allegedly said, "I know not with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones." Anyway, have a lovely week, won't you?
I need to call my mom. Give me your phone. Hey, Mom.
Hello again. Wait! What have you done?
Thanks. Whoosh. Ah!
Ugly.
Oh. Ah.
I shit my pants.
Insanity!
Wow.
Help!
Yay!
What? Oh, jeez! Dumbass!
Now Perry will vomit down your throat. Come closer.
I'm going to show you 7 simple tips that will fix almost any door problem using basic tools and stuff that you have laying around home. So let's start off with this door here. It is rubbing pretty bad at the top. You can close it, but you kind of have to jam it and get it closed. The first thing that you want to check is this top hinge. That takes all the weight of the door. You get a kid hanging off this end or just repeated use. This usually starts coming loose, causing that rubbing problem in the top corner. So we're going to check this hinge and you can see it's loose. So we're going to tighten up these screws here. And yeah, that's the problem here is these screws are stripped out. You need to back these screws out, take them right out of the way. Once you get those all backed out, the simple fix here is toothpicks and wood glue. So just jam as many toothpicks as you can into each of the holes. Once you get them all filled up, take the cap off the wood glue, pull the picks out, and then dip them in the glue. This is the easiest way to glue them up. Stuff them back in, and then you want to just snap them off right at the hinge there. Don't worry about a mess. You can clean that up after the screws are in. Take the screws, and then that is snugtastic. That's a word I just made up, but it applies here. And now, if you're lucky, that may fix your problem. Let's check the door and see if it's still rubbing. All right, the door is closing, but we still have a tight gap up here. It's under a 1/16 of an inch. Down at the bottom here, it's a heavy 1/8, if not 3/16. So let me show you the trick that I've used more times in my life than any other trick. And to do it, you're gonna need a drill. Now, you could do it with a screwdriver, but if you have a drill, you wanna use the drill for sure. Get the bit in there. That's what I like about these multi-drivers here is you have all the bits and you can pop them in your drill. It's a nice way to keep them all together. And you're gonna need a 2.5-inch screw with a number 8 head. That is key here. Back off this middle screw, and we're gonna replace it with the 2.5-inch screw, and we're gonna suck this whole thing over and hopefully get the perfect gap over there. Let's see if it works. All right, let's check that out. And you can see that the door did get sucked over by that screw and the gap is improving up here, but it's still a little bit smaller than the gap on the bottom here. And that brings us to tip number 3. And now this is kind of a magic trick that if you break this out at your friend's place, you're going to be a hero. Let me show you the hinge bending trick. Now you can see these hinges here. This top hinge, what happens with the doors that end up rubbing on this side a lot of the time is because this is loose, the hinge actually gets bent. And you can see the gap here is quite a bit bigger than this bottom hinge. So what we need to do is remove the pin. Now, once this head is exposed here, it's a little tight, but if you want to take the pressure off, just grab the doorknob, pull it up a little bit, and it'll pull right out. Then you want to take a couple of wood shims, and we're going to try to put this door into the perfect alignment here so that this gap is nice and parallel all the way along. And now we take a look at our hinges, and you can see that if these things were lined up, then the door would be in perfect alignment. So we want to bend the loops that are attached to the hinge that is on the door. To do that, we're going to use a crescent wrench and bend them back. Get a nice snug fit. We'll pop the pin back in. Remove the shims. Bang, bang. You've got the perfect reveal all the way along here. And now our door is 100% fixed. Now this is one of my best tips. Carpenters have been using it for thousands of years. I believe Noah first used this on the Ark with one of his problem doors. This one works great anytime you have an exterior door with these big hinges that you cannot bend. And now the problem with this door here is it's out of alignment. We're really tight at the top. You've got like a 1/4 inch gap at the bottom, and that alignment issue is causing this door not to latch. And you can see the problem. The latch is just rubbing along the bottom here, and it's not able to get inside and close the door. So let me show you how to fix that with a piece of cardboard. And if you need any cheap tools, I have got the perfect kit for you. I've been researching it for the last couple of months, finding the best tools at the best prices. I'll put all the links in the description. If you're watching on TV, you can check out the QR code. So you want to just undo that bottom hinge plate, flip it out of the way. Now the gap on this door was almost a 1/4 inch at the bottom, so I'm going to start with the thicker cardboard. To figure out the shape, I'm just going to trace on the shape right onto the cardboard. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just to give you a rough idea here. And pop that in place. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough to shim the door over. All right, let's test the door out and see if we're latching. The door's latching, and take a look at this gap here. This is a thing of beauty. This is a carpenter's dream right here. Nice and even all the way. Let's move on to tip number 5. Now, if you've never seen this tip, it will blow your mind. If you have a rattling door, it's such a simple fix. Take a flathead screwdriver. There's always a little tab inside of the latch plate. This one here has a slot, so it slides in nicely. If you don't have that slot, you come in from the bottom and the top. But yeah, watch this. And you just tweak that out. You might have to try it a couple times. Let's give that a try. Rattle's gone. Let's move on to tip number 6. Now this one is my sneakiest tip. It saved my bacon over 100 times on a 6-story apartment building that I was working on that had crazy settling. And this one here is you've tried all your other tips, but you just need a tiny bit more for a door or a deadbolt to latch. Let me show you the metal grinder. So what you want to do is where you have that wear point, take a black Sharpie and just trace on a little line. The best tool for the job is a Dremel with a metal grinding bit, but you can also do it with a drill bit. It just takes a little longer. And that is a crafty little hack. Anytime you need that tiny little bit of extra for any of your latching problems, let's move on to the mystical tip number 7. Now we've all got this one door in our house that just closes on its own. I call it the ghost door. This door's been doing this for the last 25 years. That door stop has been holding it open, but I'm going to show you how to fix it once and for all, and you're going to laugh at just how simple this tip is. What you want to do is come to the top pin and remove it. Take it outside. Now with these pins, they have a bit of a lip, so if you put them down on something hard, you can smack them in the middle and give them a little bit of a bend. And that's all you're going to need, is just a tiny little bend in that pin. All right, let's see if the ghost is still around. Okay, just that little bend in the pin has put enough friction in this top hinge to solve that problem, and the door still functions perfectly fine. If you've tried all these 7 tricks and you're still having door problems, leave me a comment and I will try to help you out the best that I can. And if you've got a door that is rubbing like crazy on the top and you want to know how to fix it, check out this video right over here.
Today we're going to be learning about spices. How do you store them optimally? What spices should you pick up for your kitchen? And where should you buy them to save quite a bit of money? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ethan, a home cooking nerd who likes to find better ways to cook and share them with all of you. Timestamps are in the YouTube play bar for all the various sections so you guys can check out and jump around. But first, let's start with a little bit of spice knowledge. From Harold McGee's On Food and Cooking, he describes herbs and spices as categories of plant materials used primarily as flavorings in relatively small amounts. Each spice has an aroma compound that gives it its characteristic flavor. The compound that makes fresh ground pepper smell and taste like fresh ground pepper versus the aroma compounds that make oregano smell and taste like oregano. Now typically we buy spices as whole or ground, and it actually makes a huge impact on the flavor life of each spice. Whole spices will keep well for a year or more, while pre-ground spices will start to degrade in flavor after just 3 to 6 months. You see, the spice compounds are highly volatile and reactive, meaning they will be altered when exposed to oxygen, moisture in the air, or energy sources like heat and direct light. When you compare ground versus whole spices, the fine particles of ground spices have a large surface area and lose their aroma molecules to the air much more rapidly. To test this, you could do a little experiment. Take a couple of peppercorns and give them a sniff. Now ground some fresh peppercorns and give that a sniff. The increased surface area should give off much more smell, but that's only while they are fresh ground. If you leave that pepper sit out in the open air for 24 hours, it won't be nearly as fragrant. Or if you've ever had ground pepper that's been in the cabinet for years, that stuff basically has no flavor left, and this is your cue to throw out any old ground spices that have been hovering in the cabinet for the past several years. So now that we know a little bit about spices, it's easy to understand how to store them. In general, we want to stay from moisture, open air, heat, and light. So probably the worst possible place you could store your spices is in an open bowl right by the stove with a boiling pot of water and sunlight streaming down. A good place, on the other hand, to store them is in sealed containers in a dry environment away from extreme heat and direct light. Now, the most optimum storage for maintaining flavor life would be an opaque glass container stored in the freezer, and then you let that container warm to room temperature before opening to use the spice to prevent moisture from condensing. Now, I don't know about you, but watching spice containers warm up while I'm trying to make dinner doesn't sound too exciting, so here's what I do. I bought 24 clear spice containers on Amazon and filled them up with my various spices. I went with the clear ones because I like the aesthetic. It's just fun to see all the vibrant colors, variations, and shapes. However, because I'm using clear bottles, I'll be storing them in the drawer. I bought a bamboo drawer insert that pops them up nicely and keeps them organized. I place these in the drawer to the left of my stove so I have easy access, but make sure they sit on the far left of the drawer so they don't get much, if any, ambient heat from when the oven and stove are in use. This way I can quickly grab my spices if I'm set up with my butcher block doing prep work, or if I need to add something quickly at the stove. So we've got the storing down, but what about buying them? Because if you aren't careful, the spice dollars can really add up fast. The question of what spices you should buy is completely personal. For example, if you're really into Indian food, there are countless variations of spices you could potentially pick up. But if you only make Indian food from time to time, maybe you only want to keep 3 to 4 core spices on hand, so they don't lose their flavor by the time you finally use them. For me, I've outlined this question in 3 buy-in categories for how I use these. Number 1 is absolute bare necessities. Number 2 is my top 5 used spices. And number 3 is the Pro Home Cook's kind of basic spice cabinet, which you can basically almost make anything. My absolute bare necessities are coarse kosher salt and black peppercorns. For purposes of cooking, salt is the most important ingredient for seasoning and enhancing the flavor of food, so I'm including it in this video even though technically it is a mineral and not a spice, meaning it's actually not going to lose flavor over time, and you just need to keep it dry, that's it. The first thing every cook should do is learn how to master salt and pepper. Salt alone is all that is needed to make amazing meals, and I'll link a couple of videos below that I've done about salting, but let's move to my top 5 spices. My top 5 used spices include cumin seeds, chili powder, turmeric, smoked paprika, and oregano. With just these 5 spices, I can make all sorts of dishes from Mexican cuisine, Indian cuisine, Italian, Mediterranean, and more. And if you're wondering why garlic powder is not on my top 5 list, it's because I prefer to use fresh garlic 9 times out of 10, so I don't typically reach for garlic powder too often. Now let's add 11 more spices to what I'll call the Pro Home Cook's kind of basic spices. For me, these are bay leaves, garlic powder, sumac, dried dill, coriander seed, fennel seed, mustard seed, red pepper flakes, cinnamon stick, whole cloves, and cardamom pod. Adding these 11 spices, you can really transport your taste buds all across the globe with just a few pinches of that here and there. Now, even though these are the spices that I would say to pick up, I wouldn't suggest you run out and go get all 18 of them in one go as I did. Thankfully, this is a business expense. Instead, take a minute and think about what you want to cook and maybe add an extra $10 to $15 to the grocery budget to pick up a couple spices. Speaking of, where is the best place to buy spices? Spices can quickly get expensive, especially if you're picking up those 1 ounce glass bottles at the grocery store that easily can run you $6 to $7 a piece. Multiply that by 18 spices and you were looking at well over $120. The first option is to find a store that sells spices in bulk so you can buy exactly how much you want and don't have to pay for the packaging. Another great and cheaper option that I've found allowed me to buy over 18 spices weighing over 80 total ounces, and it only cost me $72. The secret? Google international grocery store near you. I've lived in various places along the east and west coast and have always had one within a 30-minute drive. And this one that I went to is actually only 9 minutes away, so I'll be visiting much more often. They'll typically have a large selection of spices in bags and containers that are much, much cheaper than your typical big box grocery store. Additionally, you'll see a lot of cool stuff from snacks in the frozen section in the meat counter, so it's definitely one that you should just check out in the meantime. All right, everybody, so hopefully that gives you some ideas on how to buy and store spices to make them last as long as possible. And I've left a Notion page down below in the description that has all of these spices listed as well as the price that I got them for. So after being interrupted by that spam call, so I left a Notion page down below that has all of these spices listed with the prices that I got them for and the price per ounce. So if you guys are going to the grocery store, you can take that as a shopping list and a price reference point to know I think I got a good deal on most of these. But like I said, I'm gonna keep these in the drawer. They'll last a long time, and I still have an entire box in here with all my leftover spices. It's kind of insane. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video. I'm planning to do a pantry basics video, kind of similar to this, about what I pick up. So if that's something you guys wanna see, definitely drop this video a like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
You've been using your plunger wrong this whole time. But let me tell you first, if there's a plunger in a bathroom, do not ever put your lips on the lavatory faucet. Trust me on this one. So it may not be that you're using the plunger wrong, it may just be that you have the wrong plunger. What kind of plunger do you have, and do you know how to use that plunger, and is it the right one for what you're using it for? A lot of people have plungers like this in the bathroom, and to be honest, It's not the right plunger for it. This is great if all you're trying to do is unstop the lavatory. You know, the sink in the bathroom. That is normally great for a plunger like this, even a kitchen sink. The only problem with it is they don't have a lot of air. There's not a lot of volume there. But the good thing about it, if you put this right down over a drain, it will seal off really, really well, and hopefully you don't need much. It's gonna get a good seal around it, and really, all you wanna do is you wanna use like quick actions to try to push air down through it, get it to break that. This is gonna be great if your clog is in that P-trap. What if you use this on a kitchen sink? Well, on a kitchen sink, you want to do the same thing, and you can either put this on the disposal side or the other, and if only one side is backing up, that's great, because that should help free up whatever's in there. But if it's both sides, you want to make sure you put a stopper on one side, and then this top plunger on the other, and then make sure you're pushing it good, because really what you're trying to free up is whatever debris is clogged up down in there. When I say debris, it could be grease, it could be oil, it could be eggshells, it could be a lot of different things, but a lot of times this will push it through. Then rinse it out with a lot of hot water to help get it cleaned out, to wash it out, and that may help you a lot. Now for toilets, a little bit different. Notice the difference in the plungers? See how they have the ends that are a little smaller like this?